And I said, there's this young woman that I need to bring on in August that, nope, I got to do one show, at least one show before I take my little summer hiatus. I know some of you have already taken that summer hiatus. So if you were live on the replay, tell us where you're from, where you're tuning in from, what part of the world, and because we want to greet you. Thank you for those tuning in from Toronto, where we are situated. And it's you know what? It's still beautiful. It's still sunny. I know some of you might be tanning. Put on your phone. You can watch this on your cell phone. Come on, come on, come on. So you are listening to the wonderful sounds of Calabash. I may not own the rights to the music, but I do have permission to play the music. And they're a Caribbean jazz group here in Toronto, Canada, with the steel pan as the focal point. And we just came out of Emancipation Day, where Carnival started in, Trinidad and Tobago, and pan is our focal point. So I just want you to just take it in a little. Take it in, take it in, take it in. And so for those of you who don't know me, I am Nicole Waldron, your voice of victory and mental fitness coach. And I want to welcome you officially to the Victory Speaks Inspire Conversation series. And it's Wellness Wednesdays, where we're going to be minding our mind. You know what? I'm on a mission to inspire you to live a life of victory, a victorious lifestyle. And these conversations are curated just for you with everyday experts, unsung heroes, and thought leaders that will empower us. And you know what? I've recognized that no matter the type of conversation we have, good, bad, funny, you name it, it can be inspiring. It's all about our perspective. And my Victory Speaks guest tonight is a woman that continues to inspire me over the years. She continues to inspire others around the globe. She is Kamshuka, an award-winning entrepreneur and community leader. She's also an international speaker and celebrated author. She is a war child survivor of the Ugandan Civil War, and now she's a mom of 4. She is the author of the 2016 published book, Becoming a Warrior, and the upgrade and co-author of Girl Powered Uncensored. She is the founder of the Conscious Warriors. Kamshuka is an advocate against human trafficking, and there is so much more to her. Now, if you want to know who she is and what she's about, well, get ready, because I'm about to introduce you to her, bring her up to the Victory Speak stage. And right now, oh, look at Kathy Grant. She's saying she's by Beverly Salmon's Pool. Tell Beverly Salmon hi for us all. So welcome to the stage, the Victory Speak stage. Yes, Kamshuka. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me. This is absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Well, I am so happy that you are here with us tonight. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I like Wednesdays, so this is a great day. I love that Wednesday is dedicated to wellness, so I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day. And it's an exciting day as well for you, too, because you're part of the Sisterhood, the 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women 2020. Did you get a delivery today, Kamshuka?
I did. I was so excited. I have to show it to you. It's so beautiful. So
Mm. And your name's on it.
And my name is right there. So beautiful. This was the best delivery I got this week. Absolutely amazing. So great for my family to be around and just to, we waited for it. It came and it was like, the book is here.
The book is here. The book is here.
Yeah, it was such a moment. And I came down to my office and we opened the box and all the kids were around, and it was just so beautiful because it wasn't just my moment, it was my family's moment. And so it was so great. It was so great to be able to share that, and have the kids look through the pages and see me, and it was like seeing themselves. So it was such a beautiful moment. Awesome day. I'm so
I
happy.
hope you took a I hope you took a video. I saw pictures. I hope you took a
Did,
video.
I
Did they
did.
take a video of you opening your package and all the little intricate gifts inside that box?
Oh, so good. All these goodies. I was like, oh, the book. And then there was all these other things. So great. I was like, it's Christmas for me today. And I did take a video, so I can't wait to
Good.
share that. But it was so awesome today. Beautiful
Well,
day.
welcome to the sisterhood, the history sisterhood, the 100 accomplished Black women sisterhood.
Thank
We're
you.
so glad to have you as, in that sisterhood and all the 299 women so far that are in this
Wow.
sisterhood.
Phenomenal.
So I should say 300 because I just pulled myself out. 300 women because this is our third segment. So
Amazing. Absolutely amazing to be part of such a sisterhood. I love the idea of sisterhood, but to really be embraced by sisterhood, it's phenomenal. It makes me feel so loved, and I just feel so good. What a great year. Just, with everything that has happened, um, these moments where we get to embrace golden sunshine, golden
yeah,
hour all the
yeah.
time. I love it. I can't but smile. So thank you so much, and just so great to be a part of this wonderful sisterhood.
What does sisterhood mean to you though?
It actually means everything to me just because I am a very emotional person. And I don't know if it's anything to do with my sign, I have no idea about all those things. But I do know that I'm a very emotional person, and I like to share emotions. I like to
Mm,
share feelings, and I like to be able to share moments of joy and moments of happiness with somebody, and
mhm.
especially women. I feel like we go through so much. Even if we don't walk the same journey, we can
Yeah.
relate to one another. So there's so much power in sharing it with my sister. So the sisterhood to me, it's more than a club. It's like you are connected
Yes.
in the deepest way. It doesn't have to be blood. It's just like I know, I know I could speak to your spirit, and I
Yes.
don't ever have to see you ever. Like we could be in different countries, parts of the
Mhm.
world, and we are connected. So it's this deep connection that I long for and that I embrace. So when I find a sister, it's I'm not letting go.
Listen, I'm right there with you. And I love your joy and I love the passion that you've come with. Like, how have you and your family handled this pandemic? Which, I mean, you have 4 kids and it's, homeschooling and a husband and a business. How did you handle all of that in this pandemic?
It was interesting, like everybody else. It's like I was excited before it even begun. I was
Right.
excited because my last child, she was in grade 1, so I was feeling like, okay, I got more time to myself. I have this is so great. What am I going to do with this extra time? I was already building everything on borrowed time, but now I
Yeah.
had my own time. And then the pandemic happened, and everybody was home all the time. And so it was an interesting way to learn about myself, and also
Mhm.
just realize that I had to adjust my expectations, something I didn't think I would have to do. So definitely an interesting time, and not just for myself, because adjusting my expectations was a task. But then
Mhm.
I now had to deal with and help my kids through their emotional stuff. I had to take these intentional time outs to explain to them that yes, this is happening. And it was almost like everything I talk about has a lot to do with, not being defined by our circumstances. So this was like a test for me on a different level, because I have 4 kids, 4 different personalities,
Yes.
4 different emotional needs, 4 different mental needs, and 4 different ways of handling stress and anxiety. So I had to get back to my books So I remember that the very beginning of the pandemic, I decided to enroll and learn a little bit more about the mind and the brain and how it
Mm.
operates, because
Yes.
I need more than what I was going off. And
Yeah.
those actually, it was those weeks of learning about the mind and the brain. I learned a lot about how we are wired so differently, different ages, different genders. It really helped me, it really helped. But it has been interesting, that's for sure.
And so many people don't understand our mind is our brain and our brain is our mind. And it is one and the same. And so I love that you took this time out, that you were so intentional. Like you had a vision right there, and you were intentional about not just about your own health, but your children's mental health and wellness. And from the things that you've learned about yourself even more during this pandemic, what advice, what words, or whether we say advice or some people don't like the word advice, but what can you share with those listening, especially we're getting ready to go back to school in the States. Some states are already back at school this week.
Of course.
Yeah, this week, and then we're aiming for, in Toronto, we're aiming for September. So how are you navigating and dealing with their emotions, and how are you preparing them for this next phase?
I'm definitely doing that because it's not something I can start a week before September. So I've been
Yeah.
working on it, even as school ended. The one thing about myself, as a war child survivor myself, one of the things, now being an adult, I look back at my childhood and I look back at some of the things I faced, during that time of the war in Uganda, but also the years that have led me up to adulthood. What am I unlearning even as an adult? What am I learning? So I'm just taking everything I have learned and trying to guide my children the right way so they don't feel the pressure of a pandemic. The
Yeah.
reality is it's happening, and things are going to be different. Things are going to be different when they go back to school. So we are starting with one day at a time. That's
I
number
love
one.
I love that perspective, one day at a time, because it's so easy for us as adults to project our anxiety and stuff
Oh,
onto the kids. And this is their era. Their era is totally different than ours. And so, you see, I love your perspective and the way that you're approaching it, because you're really shaping them to have a healthy mindset.
yes.
Like that. And you made reference to, being a child of war, and you're a survivor in Uganda. And when you look at that, you know, and you look at the lessons that you've learned from that, what were some of the lessons that you learned from that experience that has brought you to the woman that you are today?
It's definitely taken me over 20 years to learn these lessons because I was fighting it. I
Yeah.
didn't want to learn it right away. So, what I can say is, one of the things that I've shared about before, is when I was a child, when I was 4 years old in that room, during the Civil War, where my father, myself, and my brother was. We could hear the sounds of war. We can hear the gunfire. We can hear the military. We can hear the screaming. One of the things my dad had said to me during that time was, of course, as a child, I'm asking, what's happening? Are we going to die? I want to know more. And he had said, close your eyes and picture yourself as a big girl. So picture yourself older. Think of what you want to do when you get older. And as over these years, I've realized he was enabling me to visualize where it is that I want to be. So not to focus on what is happening, because what is happening is real. This is the reality of life right now. But we need to get to a place where we can start thinking of what do I want to come from this.
Yeah.
So one of the things I hang on to, and it is also something I do with my kids, is allowing them to understand that it's okay to be scared. Fear is happening. You are afraid. You might be afraid to go to school, to step
Yeah.
into school. This is a real feeling, and
Yes.
not to just, I know you can't ignore it because you're so afraid. I have, between the 4 kids, I have a few of them that have questions, and they don't want to do certain things that they used to. They don't want to go to different meetings. They don't want to do these things because they don't want to have to face, we haven't seen people in a long time. So
Yeah.
some of us have gone comfortable without having to have that personal, moment with people. So, and also we've realized that we could do without people. Some of us, I can't, but I've learned that it's important to cultivate courage.
Cultivate courage. I like that.
So in the midst of fear, you can still get to a place where you are cultivating courage step by step. And that really just goes back to day by day, one day at a time. And that is something that I've learned over the years, that it's important to know what season of life you're in. So I've said one day at a time, and then understand the season of life that you are in.
Yes.
What does this season require of me right now? It's not going to require the same thing for everybody, but what does it require of you? What it requires of my 16-year-old is not the same that it's going to require of my 10-year-old or 9-year-old. I'm losing their ages. It's 9. But you know what I mean? There's a lot of ages here.
But you got 4, girl. You got 4, so I give you that.
Yeah, give me. Let me play with some numbers here. It's different for all of us. So what she needs as a 16-year-old, I have to speak to that and help her understand it's okay to feel the anxiety. It's okay to not want to do something, but let me help you get to a place where we are cultivating courage and building confidence one day at a time.
Cultivating courage and building confidence one day at a time. I hope you people are writing, because I am writing. I'm taking notes, because this is something everybody needs, because I love how you spoke about with dealing with the fear, because so many of us are dealing with different fears, especially with vaccinated, unvaccinated. Do we go to the restaurant? Do we go outside? Do we stay inside? What do we do? And we're trying to navigate life, and recognizing that what season of life you are in, and
Yes.
what does this season require of you? Such a good question. And looking at your children, where are they at in each area of their life, their ages, and what they can hold and what they can't hold. And so many times, emotional intelligence, it's like we're not we've been like learning how to run from our emotions, and not sit in the emotions and navigate out of them.
That's
And
right.
so
Yes.
you're just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I'm just saying.
I'm learning along the way. I'm teaching them, and I'm also sharing these things with my audience because, for us to go through these things on our own, it's,
Mhm.
I don't want to just learn these things and keep it to myself, because it's funny because I have 4 kids and they're all different. There's some that are overconfident. I
Yeah.
have one that's overconfident. I have one that's just right on the confidence level, right? My 7-year-old, the youngest, you can't touch her. You can't say anything to her. She is good. Nothing is shaking her day. Nothing
He's
is.
the warrior princess right there.
Definitely. She's the warrior princess. But if you mess with her, she will tell you. She'll make it
Yeah.
known. So, I'm realizing that that's how it is, right? Like, everyone is different, but also we also have the ability to carry these things within us, where there are moments when we are overconfident on certain things, and then other things, it's a straight no. I can't do it. I can't go. That thing that grips you when you're about to do something, and it's like, I can't move. I just cannot do this.
Yeah.
And if there was, there were years that I had realized I had this social anxiety that I didn't know what to call it. And I was just thinking, I'm just done peopling. So that's what it is. I've had a long day. I've had too much people for the day.
That's me. I feel you. I'm done peopling.
I'm just over it. And not realizing that, and I start to pay attention, right? And I realized the season I was in that moment, I just didn't have the capacity to handle that many people. It had got a little too much for me. And so just a simple date, with my husband going to a comedy club would turn into, I don't want to be here. I'm going to sit in the car. Like it was going off, right? And I was paying attention to the season I was in and listening to myself and also writing down my patterns. These were patterns that, they were coming from fear, they were coming from different things, but it was only in that season. Because if you asked me about the season before that, I was good on people. I was good. I wasn't feeling that. So we are growing, we are evolving, we're changing. And just like our plants, just like our gardens, our flowers, we have to allow ourselves to be in the season that we are in. And as we are there, we have to understand that we have to take time to understand what it is we're feeling. We don't want to talk about feelings sometimes, but sometimes it's important to understand why we're feeling, why am I anxious right now?
Yeah.
Do I need to examine my thoughts? How did I get here? What thought train did I go on that brought me here? And sometimes it's as little as someone said something.
Something, right? Yeah.
Or you watched something, or you saw a video, something that disturbed you. It took you off balance. And now you're just going down this spiral. So
you end up in the rabbit hole. You end up in the rabbit, way down the rabbit hole, and it's dark.
That's right. It's too dark there. And now it's confusion because I don't know what's happening to me. But when you take the time to pause and just sit with yourself, which is not always a bad thing, you learn some good things about yourself, and you also learn some really crazy things.
It's that P word, Kamshuka, that P word. I'm like, for me, this pandemic, I've kind of focused on the P word. I'm kind of like crazy with the P words. Like, you said pause.
Yes.
Everybody's talking about the pivot, but before you pivot, you got to pause. You got to get perspective. You got to deal with the pain. What are the problems? And I love how you said, write it down. Write down what you're navigating through, because we're always in our head.
Yeah.
And then we stay in our head and we think that we're going to figure it out in our head.
No.
And I don't think, no matter what age you are, whether you're 20, 30, 60, 70, it doesn't matter. Even right now, in this dispensation of time, everybody's affected one way or the other. And we can be judgy on ourselves.
That's right.
Like yesterday, we were having, on Clubhouse, we were having a conversation about, in this season, and we're talking about the influencer. And we have to remember that we are our first influencer. You're the biggest influencer in your life. We're looking at social media and we're looking at all these people, but you're the first influencer in Kamshuka's life, and then your kids.
Absolutely.
They're listening to every single thing that you do, not what you say.
Right.
They're listening to what you're doing.
Absolutely. They're watching me all the time. All the time. Every room I go into, they're there. Right? And that's the same with myself. I'm always with me.
Ooh, yes.
I wake up in the morning. I go to the washroom. There I am. I can't escape myself. I have to look at her in the mirror. And when I look at myself in the mirror, most of the time people ask me, what's my why? And they assume it's my kids. Of course, it's my kids. I gave birth to them. Of course, like no one's coming after my kids. I'm gonna be there. They're my kids. But my why, it really is me. It's my inner child. It's the little girl who asked her dad, are we going to die? It's the little girl that thought, if I can possibly get to the place in life where I can get older, I can dream, I could do these things, I could bring peace and love to this world, then that's the little girl, that's my why. And every time I look in the mirror, no word of a lie, I see myself. And I don't see myself as, there are days I feel amazing, I look great, my skin, is glowing. And then there are days I'm just like, oh, look at her, this little girl, here she is again. What do you want to know? What's your question for me now? And it's always the same question. It's always the same question. Are you living the way you promised me? Because I made a promise to myself when I was that little girl. I promised her that I would take care of her, because it wasn't just war that I survived. I survived verbal abuse from like family members and molestation and different things that, when there's so much political unrest and you're separated from your mother and you're in a different place in the world, there's so much that can really come at a little girl. So I made some promises to her. I promised her I would be there for her. I would let her cry, because I wasn't allowed to cry. I would be put into a little closet or a dark room, and my grandmother would say, you can come out when you're done crying. I would be there for hours because I don't know how to stop crying. Right. And it's like, there was so much I didn't want to hold in. And I realized as we get older, we start to cope and we just hold everything in. And that's tiresome. That's exhausting. Isn't it? It's exhausting.
It is darn exhausting. You know what? It's funny. I had Dr. Chrissy Doyle Thomas on a few months ago, and she spoke about tears. And she spoke about the chemicals that come out of our tears is actually good for us. And crying is good. And so many times we stop our little girls from crying. We stop our boys from crying. And our boys are holding in those tears.
Yeah, it's not good. None of that is good. We're holding ourselves back from releasing, and then by doing that to our children and to people around us, you have to pay attention, because what do I need today? What do I need in this season? If it's tears, let me flow. Let my tears flow, because there is a breakthrough in my tears. There's a breakthrough in me sitting by myself. I'm not satisfied being the victim of my story. Ooh. I'm no longer interested in bonding with my trauma. I'm over it. Let me rise.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. I'm dropping the mic. I might just come off the show. I'm just gone. This mic. And you said something earlier. I'm going to go back to it a second. You said you look in the mirror and you speak to yourself.
Yes.
And I wonder how many of us do not look in the mirror. Like we go to the mirror, but we don't look at ourselves.
Right.
I remember once doing that. I can't remember. I was life coaching somebody, and this is years ago. And I said, look at the mirror and say, I love you. And the person could not do it. Could not do it. But it's so also easy as us as coaches and people who are encouragers naturally to say it. But and I challenge anybody today, when last have you looked in the mirror and looked at yourself? Because I can tell you honestly, I can go to the bathroom, I can go throughout the day and pass by that mirror and never look at myself.
Right.
And so how many of us are not looking at ourselves?
Yes.
How many of our children are not looking at themselves? This right here, I'm going to try not to cry. How many of them are not looking at themselves?
They've got to a place where when you just live life like that, you don't even think about it. But there's so much power. I go a step further in Becoming Warrior, my first published book, and I tell my audience and I tell my clients this: look at yourself naked.
Yes, come on.
Because take off, I don't know, wigs, whatever you wear, take it all off. Clothing, makeup, everything, and just look at yourself. And that's okay if you don't feel anything right away. Because you've trained yourself to not respond to yourself. That's okay. It may take more than 5 times for you to really see yourself. And when you start to look at yourself, you are looking at all the things that hold you down. You're looking at all the times you put limits on yourself.
Mhm.
You are looking at all the things you've done to yourself, not just your abusers, but you have done to yourself. And that's not a pleasant feeling. So it is really some work here, that is some self-discovery here when you look and face yourself. But it is something that needs to be done.
Do the self-discovery. Look and face yourself. Look at yourself naked. And you got to look at your physical self naked. And you got to look at your emotional self naked. And you got to look at your spiritual self naked. Just
Yeah.
getting naked with it. Oh, we're getting naked in the pandemic. Oh, yeah.
That's right. I
Yeah.
mean, because we want to know what season are we in. How are we
Yeah.
going to find out what season are we in if we don't, if we don't take that time to
Mhm.
really talk to ourselves and be with ourselves, and not in a negative way, but sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to feel better after maybe I just need to get together with my girls. So I'm going to feel better after. Or, I need to go on a vacation. So I'll feel better if I leave this country, or if I need some cheesecake. I'm going to have some cheesecake, right?
Yeah.
All these things are awesome in the moment. And then what happens after? You still got to tuck yourself in. You still got to be with yourself.
Yeah.
You are so this is a huge part of us getting to the place where we can take a day at a time. Because if we cannot do that, if we cannot see ourselves with the greatness and everything that we desire of ourselves, then we're just going to keep avoiding ourselves.
I love that. And it's so true. And it's so easy how it's subtle, because we're so busy being busy. We get so busy not even talking to ourselves. And especially now in this pandemic, it's a good lesson for ourselves and
Yeah.
dealing with our loved ones, whether you have a spouse, whether you have a sibling, a parent. It's standing in the truth of who you are, and do you like you?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
and why don't you like you?
Yeah.
And what about you? And what about you do you like? And what about you do you love? And getting that translated. We have an opportunity in this pandemic, especially with ourselves and with our young people, to
Yes.
get them to come off. I know everybody's spending a lot of time on the computer, but spending time with you. How does that feel? Going for the walks, and I know you and I both love going out in nature, and like,
Yes.
I've been playing hooky a lot these days. I've been like, and the challenging thing for me sometimes is when I go out there, I don't want to come back inside.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You know?
And it's going to be, that's the thing. You get hooked on one thing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I was hooked on golden hour for a long time. In golden hours, when that beautiful sunset
Yes.
setting and it's so gorgeous, your skin looks so beautiful. And it's like I was living for that moment, and sometimes it wasn't coming because it's not going to be golden hour all the time.
Yeah.
So how am I going to live my life like it's golden hour? That's a question I have to
That's
ask.
good.
How am I going to do this? I'm going to have to examine some thoughts here. I'm going to have to adjust some expectations, because I don't want to just be here. And like you said, my kids are always watching. So the way I live my life is how they will mirror what they do or do not do. And I can't afford to lose. I mean, if I'm going to survive war, I saw this somewhere. It said, if you can survive storms, what's a little raindrop?
Listen, and the fact that you survived one, I don't think people understand.
Yeah.
The level of what you went through. I think because you became an advocate for human trafficking and stuff like that. But how did you really survive war as a child? How old were you?
I was 4 years old.
Right.
And I remember the day that my mom, she's an Anglo-Indian, and she was allowed to leave Uganda, and only Ugandans would stay. And so I remember the day that she actually was leaving to go on a plane, and she was teaching me how to make breakfast that morning and saying, take care of your brother. take care of your dad. You're going to see me very soon. And in that moment, I didn't realize what was happening. But as soon, it's almost like as she left, we went into a different phase where my dad had to create this, this little washroom that we had the size of your walk-in closet. He had to take our mattress and put it around the walls so the bullets wouldn't come through. It's a washroom, so there's a hole in the ground. It's Uganda. So he put a cardboard piece over it, and we stayed in that room for 3 days and 3 nights. And I can tell you this, as a child, as an adult, when you hear women and children screaming and you hear gunshots, there are moments even in life now where I hear fireworks and I have to make sure they're fireworks. I have to check with everybody. And so it is something that I walk through every day. I've gotten stronger. I've been able to share the story, but it's healing day by day. Even there's sometimes in the middle of the night, I hear something and I think I heard gunshots, but it's not. It's so hard to try to figure it out. And I wake up my husband and I'm like, did you hear that? And he didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Right? He's sleeping.
The PTSD, the trauma is so real when and I know I have that anxiety for a different reason, that when I hear that sound, nobody else is hearing it.
No.
And you hear that sound and it wakes you up.
Right.
Or it puts you, and you're always checking. And so the work that you have done with yourself, man, I really commend you. And now that you're even this advocacy for human trafficking, where did that even part come from?
It's really from, I think it's just embedded in me as a child, because when we survived the war, and then we went, my father, myself and my mother, we went to India because we thought my mother was there. Of course, I'm a child, so I'm pretty sure he knew she wasn't there, but we went there.
You're hoping.
Right. I don't know adults don't talk about certain things because it's too traumatizing. So it's like a shutdown. But for 3 years, I lived in India, and I grew up there, went to school there. And I think where it comes from a place of being this little girl that, I'm almost like the mom. So I'm taking care of my brother. I'm doing what my mom told me to do. I make sure my brothers are okay. I see my dad, he's sad, and there's still moments where I'm trying to figure out, is this person safe? What they're saying doesn't make sense. I don't feel good. So it's like those weird moments where, as you get older, I reunited with my mother when I was 7, 8 years old, but there's still things inside of me that were questionable, about people and like the adults in my life.
Yeah.
And so that became a thing where I promised myself, I wanted to be a part of a world where I would bring peace and love and joy. How could I add value? All I've ever wanted to do was add value to this world and just be a part of healing. And I remember when my mom had said that, when she left Uganda, she had got a job in the Middle East, and she didn't realize she was a part of a human trafficking thing. And so she ended up in the Middle East, and she was able to run away. But just the idea of how, little children, how kids, girls, boys, we're not protected at times.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because of the situations our parents are in or whatever it is. And I just always it's a good and a bad thing, because I always want to protect my kids, and sometimes I'm a little overbearing. So I'm also learning. But that is something that's been in my heart, to always rescue and to be a part of that mission. And I believe it was 2011 when I went to Kolkata, India, and I was able to work on a mission to rescue these young girls that was sold into sex slavery, and literally sitting in that brothel on one of the beds of this young woman. She just had a baby, and she was telling us how she has to give her baby to somebody else right now because she has a client. And it was like, you're just so young, you just had a baby. And I think there was something about being in that space that was like, I know I can add value to this world in whichever capacity that I am called to. It cannot be, there's a deeper calling to who I am. There's something within me that won't let me just let it all happen around me. And so that is where I think that the birth of just wanting to I know I'm not Wonder Woman. I can't save people. I know
You
this.
are Wonder Woman. You
I
just
want people.
you save people. You just can't save the whole world, but you are Wonder Woman. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Listen, I have brainwashed my 9-year-old to believe I am Wonder Woman. So it's going well for me. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years when he
Yeah,
realizes. But the truth is, we all can be a part of making this world a better place.
yeah,
I'm not just here to add value and to bring life to people because I'm altogether perfect.
yeah,
Perfection is not something I want to reach. I really don't. I believe it's in our pain, in the healing that we go through. I'm here to heal. And as I heal, I want to be able to show people they can heal. And we may not all have the same story. We have different journeys, different stories. But one thing that brings us together, if not just being human, it is sisterhood. And it is
yeah,
something that is connected at the heart. So I know that I am here to speak to somebody's spirit, to speak into their being and give them life where they didn't realize. The thing my dad said to me, when he said, imagine, think of yourself in the future. That is all I'm trying to do with anybody I ever meet. Do not allow your circumstances to define you. Don't let this pandemic tell you who you are. Yes, it's taken some things
yeah,
away from you. It's even taken people away from us. But we have to let ourselves get to a place where we can get to another level where we can learn
mhm,
that even through this pandemic, even through this storm, even through the worst time in life, I can still rise. I don't have to come out all
yeah,
the way with bells and whistles, but if I can stand up, if I'm on the ground, and I think of myself as a warrior because I
yes,
believe a warrior is someone who will not stay down. Even if
mhm,
you're halfway up,
yeah, yeah.
you're getting there, and that's exciting to me. So I don't even know what your question was, but just
You went right in and right to the place because you went to India and helping those women. And when you
yeah.
spoke of warrior, and just as you mentioned it, and I have always loved, it's our name, what we call ourselves,
Yes.
and it speaks to our psyche and it speaks to our inner person. And your dad said, think of yourself in the future. And you saw the power of the warrior, because even when a warrior can get in a fight and it may, he or she may be defeated at one point, the warrior gets back up to
Yes.
fight, to live to see another day, to fight to
Yeah.
see another day.
Yeah.
So I am so mindful of that. And when you spoke of the young woman who says, can you take care of my baby because I gotta go to work again, she's a warrior, like
Absolutely.
on a whole different level. Like that's a whole, like, i
Yes.
can't i can't even
Nope.
I can't even.
I don't know if I could. And this is what I'm saying. We all have these different journeys, but oh my goodness, what makes you a warrior?
Ooh,
Right?
what? So reflect on your story. What makes you worry? And I love, Coach Danny Stone always tells people, you want to know your story, look back in 10-year increments in your life and look at your stories in 10-year, and you will learn so much about yourself. Like even in this book I was just a part of, by Purpose, it made me look back on things that I was like,
Mhm.
I forgot about some things. And when you start writing, and I mean, you're an author and you've written about your experience. What was that like? Like, what did you glean about yourself? Going through that process of becoming an author. Because people make it glamorous, but there is a
Oh,
hey.
yes, definitely. Um, I started writing for healing. So I was writing for myself, and I was journaling, and that has brought a lot of healing to me. And when I came to the realization that it wasn't enough that it brought healing to me, but I was being selfish by not sharing it, that is the moment I decided to consider publishing. Because I wasn't thinking about that. This is becoming warrior right here. I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just thinking, this is good for me. I need to get this out on paper. I need to look at these words. I need to sit with myself. Publishing the book it wasn't as huge as it was writing it and just saying, wow, I wrote it. I put it all on paper. I almost felt like now everything I was carrying was on paper.
Right.
Like I gave birth, here it is. Take it. I don't know what you want to do with it. And so my attitude when I first, when I launched the book and I started selling the book and people were telling me they were reading it, I felt like, oh, I'm so glad you're reading it. I don't know if I want to talk about it just yet. I just felt like I gave birth. Do what you want to do with it, right? And I went on my book tour, and it was a great year. It was a wonderful year. I did so much. I went in, to LA, Atlanta, New York. I did so much that year. But what I didn't realize was towards the end of the year. So the tour started in January, between coming home 2-3 weeks at a time, going back. By November, I was tired. So exhausted. In fact, I was sick physically, and I didn't realize how sick I was. And I remember just, I was on, my flight was delayed. I was coming from Atlanta, and I was in the hotel, and I was saying to my husband, I'm so sick. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why I feel like this. I just want to cry. Like I always want to cry. And he's like, just come home. And I knew I had an event as I came home. So I flew in on the Friday. Saturday I had the event, and he said, just come do your event, and then you can just rest. And that was the last event of the year. And that was November. I came home. I did the event. So I was, I put on my strong face. I did what I had to do. I did the event. It was a great event. And when I came home, I lay down and I didn't get up till the next day. I was so tired. And it wasn't just physically.
Emotionally.
Emotionally, I had just relived my story 1,000 times. It was the first time I had to talk about my story that many times in a year. And so I wasn't prepared for that. So I needed to scale back and again, examine myself. I realized that, although I had written the book, I was healing. At the same time, I was just revisiting. I was still talking about it. I was, people were asking some serious questions. They were going deeper than I wanted to, and I wasn't ready. So even in all of that, it was important that I still took care of my mental health, still took care of my emotional being. And so I spent the rest of the time just really, I went to my doctor. She checked on me. We did what we needed to do. And then I started to work on just mentally taking back myself.
What does that look like? Mentally taking back yourself. What does that look like?
It looked like me saying to myself, I know you think you had this, and you did a great job this whole year, but let's face it, you're tired, you're exhausted. There's still some stuff you got to heal from. You didn't think you did. You thought you were good, but you actually still have to heal from some stuff.
So for people who are, because there's so many people writing this time, and I have seen so many people releasing books in this. Like I never even thought I was going to be a part of a book. I haven't written a whole book. I'm just part of a book, so I can't even just imagine, right? And so many people writing in this season.
Yeah.
But people who are writing, especially from their trauma stories and stuff like that, knowing what you know now, what preparation should you have done before you went on tour?
I should have paced myself. There's another key word for you.
Yes, pacing yourself in the process of the purpose. Go ahead now.
Absolutely, because I believe in purpose, but there's no point in showing up to purpose all exhausted.
Yeah.
I should have paced myself. I should have spent more time doing more work when it came to my healing, So still being in counseling, still doing what I needed to do, still talking about it, having, still going through that healing process, because it doesn't mean you have arrived because you wrote a book.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's great to have a product, it's great to have a book, but by no means did I feel like I arrived. And I really didn't want people to think I have all the answers now, because I was still trying to figure it out. I was still realizing and learning about myself in ways that I didn't think I'd have to. So, I continued doing the healing. I didn't realize there was so much strain on my emotions. There's so much emotional stuff, and life is still going on. So I'm still dealing with everyday
You have to
stuff.
be a mom. You still have to be a wife. You still have to do whatever you have to do to
Right.
live. Yeah.
Some days you can't just go off, the woman's always right. I'm
Yeah.
not right. I was wrong so many times.
Yeah.
And I had to accept that. I had to say, I'm sorry. I had to sit with, being told, from my family, from my husband saying, no, what you said wasn't right. Like, you can't say that.
Yeah.
You can't, I was still on go, go, go. And it's like, I needed to pace and stop.
Yeah. That is a really good. So paying attention to yourself, and I think that's when one of the lessons I'm hearing that you have learned is about the lessons that you're learning along the way, and stopping and journaling and listening to you, what your body is telling you, your mind, body, soul, and spirit. And now you're a mindfulness practitioner
Yes.
and a certified life and wellness coach. Like, how did you even? I mean, you have pivoted. How did you even get into this, Cam?
Because I needed it so badly. My world in my head, everything was so loud. It was a lot loud, Not only was I dealing with the PTSD and the sounds of war in my head, now my house is also loud. Everybody's home. Everything is loud. The world is telling you so much. Society's saying one thing. Social media saying, it's a loud world. And I realized that a lot of what I had going on, during that time, I learned that I was actually, I had high blood pressure, and I was also realizing that I had my blood cells were really low. So I had, just falling apart in my body, and realizing that I needed to change so much. I still needed to work on myself. So changing how I eat, changing how I de-stress was important. And when the woman heals, the family heals.
Okay. Drop the mic. When the woman heals, the family heals. Come on now.
Absolutely. Before that, it's everybody's fault. But when the woman heals, when you work on yourself as a woman, we're warriors. It's true. Warriors have weaknesses also. Warriors get weak. Warriors get tired. Warriors need healing. And so when I healed myself, I started to learn about being mindful. I started to learn about, just changing the atmosphere in my house, aromas in my house. What do I need to change the way our house feels and looks? I added plants, a lot of plants. I got plants in every room.
Right.
And I do, and it was like you said, we like to be outside. During a pandemic, you can be outside, but you want your house to be your haven. And so I started to really change things about how how my morning routine went. I was doing all these things before, but not intentionally. So I got more intentional with my prayer. I got more intentional with my meditation. Sitting still is not something I did before the pandemic, because we are busy. We have things to do. I had events to go to. I'm busy. This is what it was. And I don't want to be busy anymore. I enjoy being occupied, yes, but I don't want to be busy anymore. That sounds like a lot going on, and I want to pace myself. So I had to teach myself these things, and so I started to practice it in my house, and I started to practice, just as simple as using. I'll show it to you. Something as simple as incorporating a sound, just sound into our house, and just bringing peace, something little like this. I start to bring it into our house. I start to see how my kids start to respond to the pandemic, and how, yes, it's chaos out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's chaos in your mind.
Yes.
And there are times that we need to learn how to work through the chaos in our minds. And, and it could be something as simple as, just changing our surroundings, how we speak to ourselves, sometimes the way we speak to ourselves is actually the voice of a toxic parent.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to hear that sound. I needed to speak to myself with kindness, and that would help me understand my children even during this time. And so as I learned about that, I decided to, learn some more, school myself. It's the pandemic, why not? So I enrolled. I sat, I woke up early in the mornings. I went to class. I did my class. I did lessons in the afternoon. In the nighttime, I did lessons. I did all of that because I wanted to learn more about how to maneuver in this season of our lives. Because number one, I want to heal. I want to continue to heal. And what I healed from yesterday was great yesterday. But today is a new day. And I got some more healing to do today.
What I healed from yesterday. Come on, somebody. Come on. I feel like we need to...
It was yesterday's healing, and that was good. It was great. But today brings new things. And I want to know that at the end of the day, I can ask myself, or I could say to myself, you did well today. I know that almost took you out. It almost had you. And you kind of started to go down the wrong, but you caught yourself because you listened to yourself. You paid attention.
And the fact that you made it through the day, that in itself is the victory.
That's a big deal.
The fact that you were able to put your head down, and even if you didn't fall asleep, you made it through a 24-hour period. Yes. That's victory in itself.
Yes.
That you're in the land of the living, even if you don't feel like you want to be in the land of the living and things might be hard, you're breathing. And you have life. So there's still something there for you to do. And, for everybody listening live and on the replay, if you don't know by now, you should be getting a pen and paper and writing down some of these gems that Kamshuka is sharing with us tonight. You need to go all the way back to the beginning because she was dropping it from the beginning.
Yes.
And now you have been through so much in your life. And is there one thing in particular that is a memorable experience for you that sits in your being?
Like a good memory?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because I know you have the ability to turn things around. You have the ability to even take what wasn't so good.
Yes.
To shift it. So I'm here being teachable right now.
Well, this is one of those moments. I think there's been many great moments, when I look at life now, but I think something that will always stick with me is when I was a teenager. I was 18 years old and I was just tired of being here. I faced this moment as an adult many times, but I remember the first time I just felt tired and I felt like, maybe I have the power to take myself out. And so I tried. The first time, it didn't work. I thought I must have done something wrong. Let me try this again because I'm so tired. There's things in my mind. My parents weren't really, they didn't understand what was happening in my mind. They weren't, thinking go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
They were saying let's pray over you. Let's pray it out of you. So I was tired of being here and I really just didn't want to feel anything. And so I was suicidal. And at my third attempt, I just cried. And I cried like I was a little girl again.
Mm-hmm.
And when I cried, I went from just crying angry at God to just crying because I was now angry with myself. Like, why can't you even just die? Like,
Why can't you even just do this? You can't even do this successfully.
what's wrong with you, right? Like, what? Like, this is a simple thing. Why are you still here? Why is this not happening for you? And then I continued with the tears because nobody was there to stop me. And I kept crying. And when I cried, it was like everything that I had ever held on my shoulders as a little child, because I was given so much responsibility and so much was expected of me, even as a little girl. I felt it all just like I really just in that moment felt like I didn't realize how much I was carrying.
You were carrying, yeah.
And I remember crying, and just now it turned to weeping. And it was more like, oh my goodness, you're still here after all this? And that was like, oh, I was just mad, for being here. And now I'm like, it was so much going on. And I remember thinking after I finished crying, because I cried a lot. And after I kind of, ended up with the whimpers and like, there's no tears now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember thinking, if I'm going to live, I honestly cannot live how I was living. Like, I have to, if I'm going to live, and since God, you won't let me go, then
Right.
I need to live my fullest life. And that's all I remember thinking, because if I'm going to be here, since I'm not going anywhere. So then you need to make sure, you need to show me what I need to do to live my fullest life. And that means I want to be on 10,000 levels of happiness. I want to live happy. I want to be here. If I'm going to be here, let me do this good. Right? Because I can't take myself out. And I remember thinking, of course, this is not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
I had some days and then like I went back and forth. And I remember thinking, when I finally made the choice to actually live, that's when everything started to work in my favor. And it wasn't overnight, but it was more like a sense of purpose. Like, that was the littlest thing, but the biggest thing at the same time. When I chose to be here and to be present, I actually felt like there was purpose to my life, more than just being, the child that's carrying everything. It felt like there was more to me. And so now when I started to live through life, the things that came at me were all in purpose. I didn't realize it in the moment. But, when I think of, even when I started my photography career years ago, there was so much joy that it brought. It brought me so much joy to just hold a camera and make somebody else smile. Like, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. To see somebody tell their story on the other side of my camera, that was purpose enough for me. It made me realize that, yes, I don't want to be here. And now here I am making somebody else happy. Like, they're finding purpose in their life. And that made me. So
that right there, that I don't even have words for that right there. But what I'm going to ask you is, to whomever is listening live and on the replay, whether you're thinking it or somebody who's thinking it, who doesn't want to be here anymore, what would you want to say to them right now in this moment?
I know anything I say is going to sound like a cliche, but the truth is, you cannot possibly be here breathing, even in this moment, listening to me, and not realize that you are on purpose. You may not know what your purpose is. You may not even know what happens next. You may not even want to breathe. But the fact that you are here, you are literally on purpose. Now people may have written you off, or maybe you feel like nobody cares. But I can tell you right now, there is one person, there's two people that care about you immensely. The first person is God, whoever you believe in, that is allowing you to be here and to breathe. And the other person is you, because that little man, little boy, little girl inside of you is still there. And you are here to fulfill that purpose. So do not give up on yourself. I promise you, it gets better. You may not see it right now, and I didn't, but there is so much more inside of you than there is outside of you.
I like that. There's so much more inside of you than is outside of you. You know, things are temporary. Situations are temporary. As painful as they're temporary. And, that we not make a permanent decision out of a
Yes.
temporary situation. And Serena is giving you your flowers. Yes, she is such an inspiration, isn't she? And Serena, thank you for Serena tunes in from Washington D.C. every show. I'm like, and I did Serena's been a guest on this show. She's an author as well.
Oh,
And let me tell you, the day we're gonna have to have a victory, some kind of party with every guest, because for those who just tune in every week, I am so blessed by you.
wow.
And you're giving us our flowers, Serena. We're giving you your flowers because you're showing up and you are giving life to others.
Absolutely.
And your advice as raising four young ones and speaking to young people, you don't just speak to women. And by the way, I think I need to arrange a photo shoot because I haven't had a Kamshuka in a long time. um, and I mean, I know you come from a family, with photographers in your line.
I will
um,
definitely
but maybe
present
the victory
talk
speaks
for
more.
you.
Maybe the victory speaks picture needs to be by a warrior woman. Just saying.
Okay.
Um, but advice to the upcoming generation. What advice would you have for them, especially as you have them in your house?
Yes. I would say, and the same thing I say to my kids, and this is the people around me, people I work with. I always say that do not allow this moment to define your entire life
Mhm.
or to define your future. You know, this whatever is happening in your life right now, whatever moments you're facing, this is not where it ends. This is
Mhm.
literally a chance for you to rewrite the chapter. You're not even at the end of the chapter. So give yourself grace.
Yes,
Allow yourself to go through as you grow, as you love, as you heal. Be kind to yourself.
I love it. Be kind to yourself. We need to practice that self compassion. That self compassion, we so need it. And so as we start winding down, not that I want to wind down this conversation, you're working on some projects, and I know you got some stuff coming up. What do you have coming up in your little dossier of stuff?
Ooh, okay. I'm so excited for this. I have a mastermind class coming up. Um, August 18th is my first one, and I still have a few spots that need to be filled, but it has been amazing. Like the response has been so great. And this is where we are talking about, victim or warrior. You know,
Mm,
what what do you want to make this moment into? How do we go from being the victim of our stories and our journeys to being the warrior of our everyday life? How do we flip that mentality? How do we
right.
change our mindsets? So masterclass is August 18th, and then I have my second one because it was too much, and I was obedient, and so I opened up another class in October 13th, and I can't wait because I think it's a class.
Yeah.
So class is going to be in session, and I'm not going to be smiling all the time, but I
Yeah.
can promise you that
Because we're
it,
gonna work. We're gonna work. We're gonna do some self work. Yep.
absolutely. We're going to look into some of those limiting beliefs. Sometimes
Mhm.
we believe things that are not true, but they limit us. It is the way we interpret, something that happened in our life that was painful, and then
Yeah.
we give a meaning forever. So we're going to shake up. I'm going to shake up all of that. I'm going to shift some patterns and really show you how you do not need to be the victim of your life or your
and
story.
and no matter where you are, and I think this is key, because sometimes you said it when you wrote the book. Sometimes you don't know something is sitting in the recesses of your mind and your emotion that you
Oh,
haven't dealt with until you have to deal with it again. So
exactly.
you're never too old,
Nope.
and you're never too old to be teachable. And I believe that The day you stop being humble and stop being teachable, well, why you well go home to
That's right.
wherever that is. You really, why are you even here? And so
Yeah.
10 years from now, Kamshuka, looking back on your life, because your daddy already told you about looking into the future. Um, what do you think would one of the things that will matter to you most?
My peace of mind.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think that if, when, we get through these stages of life
Mhm.
and we make it to 10 years from now, if I can reevaluate how I lived my life and
Yeah.
how I nurtured peace and how I protected my peace and I protected my rest, then that is going to be something I'm going to hold on to and say, I'm proud of you. Because in all we do, if we're not at rest in our minds and we don't find that peace that really is our healing, then
Mhm.
it is constant chaos. And I don't want to, going through a physical war is one thing, but to have a war in your mind for life, I don't want that. That's a class I don't want to sign up to. So peace is something that I want to be able to look back on. And even in that moment in 10 years from now, say, I've been able to learn myself enough to know what brings me peace and what robs my peace. And
Hold on. Hold. I have learned myself enough
I've
to
learned,
know what gives me peace and
yeah,
what robs my peace. That right there was worth the whole show.
yes, absolutely. It's important to me, and my peace is not up for sale. It is something I cannot afford to lose. And if I was to choose, I would choose peace over everything. And so when it comes to my family, my kids, peace is something that's important in my house, you know, um, because of my childhood and also because they deserve to grow up in a house of peace, but they also deserve to experience peace in the ages that they are in within themselves. So when they leave, wherever they show up, they show up in peace and they bring that value of peace. We need that. We need more.
I feel a new book. I feel a new book for you, Kamshuka. I don't know but I know peace is part of that title.
Yes,
That is so powerful.
yes, yes,
I can't remember who it was that said it, but I remember I was listening to somebody one day and he says, I am not, my peace is not for sale. And I think they even had a health scare and they said, no, my peace.
no,
And I think about my peace I give you.
yeah,
Oh, this peace, we're going in now. We're winding down the show, but we're going in. Like my next question to you was like, what does victory look like to you? But I almost think you just answered it by saying living
yes,
a life of peace. I could cry with just that moment there.
absolutely. That's it right there. That's what victory looks like to me. It looks like that, like peace. In the process of peace, if I can affect and impact some people, then I'm here for it. But
Hmm.
peace is not something, like you said, it is not up for sale. It is not something that I can negotiate. Peace is extremely important to me.
Well, I'm gonna make sure that what? Are you making your decisions? Like this is so good, Kamshuka. Come on, hold on, hold the presses, hold everything. Are you making your decisions from a place of what's going to give you peace? If you're thinking about, you're looking at the vaccine, are you going to send your kids back to school? What's going to give you peace? Are you
There you
going
go.
back to work? What's going to give you peace? What's going to give you peace with your family?
Yeah,
What's giving you peace? That is golden.
absolutely. Let that fuel you because that will take you places.
Well, that's taking me paces tonight. 'Cause that's going to make me probably tell some people no a little bit more so I can say yes to myself because I
Oh,
need that peace.
yes. When you realize that about yourself, it is easy to say no. You don't need
Hmm.
to think twice about it
That's
because
so good.
you think about all the times that you were robbed of your peace because you said yes to something you know you should have said no to. We're not doing that anymore. that's a wrap. We're not doing that anymore.
And that's what one of the great things that have come out of this pandemic.
Mm,
For some, not for everybody,
yes.
because some people didn't even have that moment to give themselves peace. When I think of like the frontline workers who are going, they did not have that place of peace because they were always in a place of panic, or moving through the pain, and not even getting the chance to get. But some of them got perspective, because I know many frontline, especially nurses, have quit
Yes.
because they lost their peace. So peace is a big word out of tonight. And is there anything else you would like to share with anybody who's listening live and on the replay, that we didn't touch yet tonight?
You know what? I think I shared everything I wanted to share. I did write a little something. If I could read that,
Oh, sure.
would that be okay?
You can. This is. I'm just here as your, navigator. You go. This is your show, girl.
So this is something I hope that stays in your heart, as you end your night and just as you decide how you want to live the rest of your days, how you want to be. I release myself from all expectations that bind me to perfection. I release myself from the expectations of others. I release those who hurt me, those who abandoned me, and those who failed to stand for me. I welcome joy. I welcome peace. And I welcome indescribable love to rewrite this chapter of my life. I honor the God in me. I honor the journey. And I honor the path that I am here on, the future of myself. I forgive and I release all things that attach me to lack. I only claim abundance in my life because I am enough. I am whole and I am deserving of wellness.
Yay! That was so beautiful, Kamshuka. I am so stoked you joined me here tonight, and that we got to have this amazing conversation. I am empowered. I am invigorated. I know as I am about to take this break.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to cry. Keep it together, Nicole. As I'm about to take this break, for summer, you have given me so much to think about and to contemplate and to ruminate over. Um, and you really spoke about victory tonight in such a beautiful way of our peace
Yes.
and looking forward into the future. Can you see your vision? And
Mm,
hearing the words of your dad, how he empowered you and impacted your life, and the
yes.
lessons from your mom, and the lessons from being in the war in Uganda to looking at you now, to joining the sisterhood of 100 ABC women.
So great.
You're part of, yeah.
Thank you.
I just had to drop that there. And
If I
for
could,
those of you, go
if I
ahead.
could give you one more thing, you know, I've said this to you before, but I think that it's only deserving that you get your flowers.
Not right
This,
now.
like this, this is for you, Nicole, because you have found a way to be our peace, even during a pandemic, even during panic. You've chosen to be the peace for so many people. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for waking up and doing what you do, for choosing to be here Mondays, choosing to be here Wednesdays, for signing in, coming on, bringing people to impact your audience. Thank you so much for this platform, because you have no idea the people who are listening and the ones that never say anything that need you to show up. And I just want to say, this rose is for you. Would you accept my rose?
I accept your rose. The tears are falling, and I'm trying to keep it together. So thank you. That's one of the most beautiful things I've experienced on this show tonight,
Thank
ever,
you.
in this chapter of doing this show. So thank you so much, Kamshuka, and for everybody who tune in and on the live and on the replay. And we spoke about the sisterhood, and I've lost track of how long I've known you, and I really have. I can't even. Thank God I brought tissues. Oh my God. Um,
No, really, how many years has it been? Over
I don't
15?
even know. It's been long.
Yeah, I think 20. I don't
Yeah,
even know.
it's been really long. Yeah, it's been really long because, and it's funny how time flies. And
Yes.
one of the things I'm learning about even in this moment is those full circle moments that you don't even realize, you know,
Wow.
where you meet somebody at one place and how they're going to affect your life along the journey and connecting the dots, you
Wow.
know, meeting, seeing you worshiping, seeing you as a photographer, seeing you with your family, watching you become a mom and a bigger mom and a bigger mom and an author and doing all that you've done. You continue to inspire hope. You continue to inspire others to live and stand in the truth of who they are. You show
Thank
up
you.
with such beauty and with such peace and with such love, and with your husband by your side and your family. This is what, I hope that anybody listening tonight, and if you have a friend that needs to listen to this, that you will share this conversation with them. And earlier in the conversation, welcome in Kamshuka to the Sisterhood of 100 ABC Women,
Thank you.
and you're honored to be, one of the 100 women in 2020 to be honored for what you're doing. And it's not about it's not about the degrees. It's not about I'm in this club. It's about honoring the women that are standing in the truth of who they are. And you getting your book. It's so funny how you got your book today, delivered to you today,
Well,
of all the days.
it was just, just icing to my cake having this
Yeah,
conversation because I was so happy to receive this book today. It really made my day. It just so great. Like, look how amazing this book
it
looks.
is. It is.
Oh,
And for people who don't know, 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. This is the third era of it. And so there's 300 women now in that database, around a woman around Canada. So I'm
wow.
going to say tonight, as you learn about Kamshuka, you're going to learn about other women. So get your copy of the book. Go to 100accomplishedwomen .ca and get the book and share. And I just want to encourage anybody who is um, who is listening to this show tonight, and you have lost hope. Don't. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. And know that you are loved, that you are appreciated, and that you are cared for. And I want you to remember that you were made for such a time as this. You were created with a purpose. And as we shared, Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the broadcast. And remember to let your victory speak. We're going to say goodnight now. Take care and God bless.